So this is supposedly an 8K waterproof camera. And so the main standout feature is that this is the cheapest 8K video camera I could find. And it just happens to be a waterproof camera as well, but it's not even like an action camera. It's like a waterproof point and shoot camera. It has a screen up front, it has the regular screen in the back, and all these other features that it supposedly has right here. And so the listing showed that this is an 8K 70 megapixel camera. It can go all the way down to 33 feet underwater, and I picked this up for $110. Okay, that's got some weight to it. Actually, a surprisingly thick operating manual, microfiber, and maybe some stuff in here. Yeah, a few things in there. All right, so this one just comes with a little carrying case, it looks like, USB-C charger, a little wrist strap right here. This feels decent quality. And of course, a little tiny microfiber. Yeah, so this doesn't have a removable battery. It probably helps with the waterproofness, I'm sure. A replaceable battery will add a lot more possible points of failure. All right, so this has a 64 gigabyte micro SD card. All right, moment of truth, let's power this up. Got 9,650 photos that we can fit on this card. There's a bunch of different options, but we can do 8K 15 frames per second. So that's not gonna be super useful to us. That'll be really choppy and like really not that usable. We got 6K 25 frames per second that could be usable. And then 5K if we wanna get up to 30 frames per second. And then you know, 4K 60, 1080p 60, 720 60. Okay. Realistically, 4 or 5K are gonna be the best options, I'm gonna say, but we'll do some testing on it and find out. Let's put this one to the test. All right, this is the 8K camera recording in 8K 15 frames per second right now, which probably isn't very smooth. It's probably not that usable, but I'll switch to some other modes in just a second. And this is my Sony a7S III recording in 1080p HD, which is the lowest resolution that this camera can record in. This one I'm excited for. We have 8K versus 1080p HD. I think it's 16 times the resolution. Don't quote that was just off the top of my head, but it's a lot more resolution than the a7S III. Which one do you think is sharper? Which one do you think is better quality? My bet is on the a7S III. This really just goes to show that resolution is not everything. And pretty much all these manufacturers use resolution as this misleading spec to try to bring people in that don't know any better. All right, here we go. This is 5K 30 frames per second on this camera right now, and then same thing 1080p HD on my Sony a7S III. Now this should be a little bit smoother than the 8K was, hopefully. And then the quality is probably a little bit worse, maybe similar to the 8K. I don't even know what they do, if they just like fake upscale this or if it, you know, is technically that resolution. You know, I really have no idea. I'm sure all these manufacturers do things slightly differently. So according to the Amazon listing, this thing's durable and drop resistant, and the build quality actually does feel way better than any of these other cameras I've tested. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop test this thing from 1 foot, 3 feet, and then 6 feet, and then I'll probably stop it there. My goal really isn't to destroy this thing, and I also think 6 feet is realistically the highest this camera's gonna fall from if you're just using it normally. All right, so let's run some drop tests and see how well this thing holds up. All right, so the first drop from 1 foot actually did bend this little strap loop on the corner here. Yeah, it actually looks like it bent it in and cracked it. Now it's not too surprising because it is just that thin little piece of metal there, but let's drop it from higher up and see what happens. All right, check this out. This is after a 6 foot drop. There's a little scuff, it looks like in this corner here, but not in the glass at all. But that's pretty much it after a 1 foot, 3 foot, and a 6 foot drop. I would definitely agree with their points at this being rugged. Like it's good quality, it feels dense, it feels thick, it feels like it's not gonna break if you drop it. And from our testing, I mean, it looks like this really will survive pretty good drops. All right, it's time for the waterproof test. I'm gonna leave this thing underwater overnight and we'll see if it still works in the morning. All right, here we go. So far, still looking good. Let's check on this in the morning and see if it still powers up. All right, here we go. It's been about 16 hours. I really have no idea what to expect, but let's pull this thing out and try to power it up. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Look at that, it powered right up. I don't even see any water, behind the screens or behind this lens or anything like that. This thing survived 16 hours underwater. I'm gonna call that a win. I'm pretty surprised with this camera. Even the quality's pretty decent. But yeah, please do your own research before you buy any of these cameras and really understand that all the specs they talk about, anything they talk about really is misleading. And you should always try to find real reviews and real, example photos and videos taken from them. But that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider dropping a like and subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.